Lo primero que es muy importante es, no va a regresar la guerra contra el narco.
Hablar de paz y de tranquilidad en el país.
And I mean, I admire a lot of Mexican communicators, like Victor Trujillo, who plays a famous great character as a clown called Broso, who exposes every government since 40 years ago. He has attacked everybody in power, and he's still fighting for the cause. His own cause, which for him could be his way of supporting the nation. There's Carlos Loret de Mola, a journalist who started working on the system, but when the system tried to screw him over, he recovered. And the same way as I just said, he's fighting the cause as he sees fit. And everybody's doing it the same way. There's another guy, Chumel Torres, who is a comedian. He's not a journalist, I believe he's not, but he does the job better than many that go to every mañanera with the president to suck his shoes, because if they wouldn't, they hadn't gotten into the damn press conference space on the first place. And all of this crap is the same old shit on one single cycle, like a snowball that you can't stop. So people like Chumel are doing what they can. This guy, who is in fact an engineer, has a show called El Pulso de la República, and he has been throwing shit at everybody as a good comedian should, and nobody had any problem with him. But once he dared to make a joke about the Mexican president's son, and he was fired from HBO right away. And we see this crap, and we just understand it. And it's wrong. It has to stop. That's like absolutely wrong. Don't stop a Mexican from being funny. Plus, you never know who might come out to defend him. Be careful. But he's still there, giving the fight. All of them. Among many champions over here like Enrique Krause, Guillermo del Toro, Katy Chazarreta, who has studied in Johns Hopkins to go to space with NASA. We have heroes. There was Colosio. There's a YouTuber called Yulai, who claims to be an ex-Mexican cop, and he visits the hot zones in Mexico, and he dares to get in and ask everybody inside how their lives actually happening there. At the same time, he makes a project like Cops, where he shows Mexican cops aren't they aren't all corrupt, which is cool to know. There's Yolo Camotes, who speaks about the lies in Mexican history. There's a channel called The Mexican Family, made from a Mexican group who live in Canada, where they explain basic cultural stuff, just as many other Mexicans all over the planet explaining how we can go to live to other countries. There are Vice documentaries that everybody in the planet seems to be watching about Michoacán and Sinaloa that, for some strange reason, don't even have subtitles for Mexican people to watch. And as most people over here don't even like to read subtitles, well, we don't even realize about what the world thinks about us. Sometimes people like you that might live thousands of miles away from our country know better than us about things that happen hours away from our homes. And lots of other heroes who got broken in the way. This is for them. Because we've had heroes. Many are hidden in history that we don't care. Because they haven't been turned into movies. Because our heroes are staged to be from outside. For example, our wrestling, AAA. I remember my dad used to take me to the Coliseum. That's how they used to call it. Just a ring with some chairs around. But in a dark warehouse with these colorful lights on, these crazy drunk people screaming at the guys with the masks to kill themselves. Dude, that shit it's art. It hasn't disappeared yet, but we don't appreciate it anymore. We are busy watching the WWE shit because nowadays we believe it's better. But these new Mexicans haven't met La Parca, I saw. Perro Aguayo, Atlantis, Máscara Sagrada. Gringos love Rey Mysterio because he's just one of the many legends we've had and that we're slowly forgetting. We've had our own superheroes. Some of them are still alive. That's the point. We gotta protect them. But it's curious to recognize that Mexico in general doesn't know basic things about the planet. I bet that 80% of the Mexican population don't have a clue of who Edward Snowden or Julian Assange are.
But no one in that building, no one in these agencies signed up to watch everyone in the United States, which is what we had ended up doing without there ever being a vote, without the public ever knowing at all. We were spying on lawyers who were negotiating trade deals over the price of shrimp and clove cigarettes. We were spying on the United Nations Children Fund. We were spying on journalists. We were spying on professors in the United States who were actually, they held security clearances themselves. These weren't people who were known to be associated with violence. These weren't people who were suspected of being terrorists. These were people who instead had what would be considered some intelligence value. And this is critical because these programs were never about terrorism. That was the justification. They're about diplomatic manipulation, economic espionage, and social control. They're about power. And there's no question that mass surveillance increases the powers of government, right?
And I believe that every country, in some or other way, is finding themselves in the same globalization crossroad of forgetting who they are because they want to keep progressing. No. You don't need to forget who you are to keep getting better. But you need to get better to learn from the shit you want to forget. To put it in the past, leaving it behind you, looking forward, understanding the time is just an illusion. We already live in the past, and the future is being written as I say this. I want to close this first video giving a quote from some Mexican that I admire, that I believe that more Mexican people should follow, listen to, read from. He's a Mexican writer and historian. His name is Juan Zunzunegui. And I consider that many more Mexican people should follow him, read from him, give him more space. I hope one day to have the chance to interview him. He seems to be a great guy, but in the end, if you want to consider him an influencer, I could say he is, but I wouldn't put that tag on him. Not yet, at least. But I would definitely like him to be an influence in Mexico during the current circumstance. Okay. The thing is that Zunzunegui was in a Mexican radio show with Eddie Warman, who is a lawyer and host in that radio show. There's actually a YouTube video. It's in Spanish, so in case you're Mexican and you're interested, go and look for it. It's called Why We Are the Way We Are, a Mexican Psychology. ¿Por qué somos como somos? Psicología del Mexicano. And in that show, Zunzunegui, I believe as a historian, he gives his take on the Mexican main social mentality, and he says,
para mí un pueblo no es otra cosa más que la historia que se cuenta un pueblo de sí mismo. Es decir, toma tú a un niño gringo y a un niño mexicano. Toma al niño mexicano y al niño mexicano cuéntale todos los días, año tras año, generación tras generación, durante 100 años, somos producto de una conquista, de una derrota. ¿Qué tenemos como resultado? Un pueblo conquistado. Pero no por España, sino por nuestra propia versión que nos contamos de la historia. Toma a un niño gringo y repítele todos los días, año tras año, generación tras generación, durante 100 años. Somos la superpolicía del mundo, somos los superhéroes, somos los paladines de la democracia y la libertad, somos lo máximo, somos los amos del planeta. ¿Y qué tienes con el paso del tiempo? Un pueblo que se cree esa historia que se cuenta de sí mismo, y bueno, y por eso son potencia.
Mexican has this toxic idea in its mind that sustained that it has always been screwed by everyone. Mexican blames the outside for everything that it doesn't have inside. It's the same Mexican who refuses to listen to itself. Kids growing while being raised, believing that all the odds are going against them. I'm more like paraphrasing what he said. I'll leave the link on the description in case you want to watch it. If you understand Spanish, you will love it.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
The case is that he also said a Mexican kid grows that way, while a gringo kid grows considering himself to be in the best nation in the planet. All the superheroes are gringos. Freedom fighters fighting freedom all over the world. Yeah. Another quote, one from George Carlin. If fighters fight fire, why do freedom fighters fight? That's a good one, right? Sorry, back to Tsunegi's interview. Gringo kids grow thinking that they are born and raised on a nation that will allow them to get as far as they can, as long as they overcome themselves. They will get wherever they dream of. That's the American dream. Probably the only and strongest identity base for a nation that considers itself the best in the planet. And perhaps for many gringos, that's just a lie. But that hope, what that S represents on Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, that responsibility that Spider-Man gives the gringo kid, is something that a Mexican kid doesn't think that can have here. He doesn't think that he deserves it. That's why he doesn't think that he's able to build or create. A Mexican child thinks that success will fall from the sky, from the government's hands, from a good Samaritan, from God, from a Messiah. We think that we will stumble against greatness, just like Columbus accidentally found America. That's why Mexicans rather praying than studying. We prefer to complain over changing. Sorry. We think that success is in the money that you have, not on the things we know or that we are able or even capable of doing. Exactly the same reason for us to blame other countries for our predicament. Like the Spanish, when they found petrol over here, they thought they were never gonna have a work anymore. That's why we think that resources are what makes you wellness. We are dragging this mentality among with most of Latin America. While the gringo child believes that his ideas are gonna transform the resources into something else. Gringo children believe that their ideas are the ones that matter. Shit. Just to close this up, Tsunegi ended up saying, I believe that our country's issues mostly lay on an identity crisis. A country isn't much different than the story that a country tells itself that its story is. If a country thinks that it's destined to failure, it will always be. As soon as we start believing in ourselves, we will be unstoppable. Just as every nation could be. Just as the Uncle Sam has made us think that gringos are. Just as we all should be. Something like that. The point is that I believe that by avoiding you from reading subtitles might be enough for you to get into this ride with me. For every government to start understanding that we all live under the same sun. We all walk under the same moon. So why can't we just live as one? For you to tell me if many of these people that we consider heroes were heroes for real or traitors? Which of these politicians we should put in jail? For you to learn from our mistakes. For us to learn from yours. For us to remember those who we have forgotten that have been so important for our progress. Those who really gave their lives. Those that we have left behind. To give us your foreign opinion. I'm tired of the Mexican opinion.
México y atender al pueblo. Compra tu cachito. Hagamos historia.
This was just a Mexican English teacher. Nothing else. Sharing a little of our shining sun from Mexico to the world, over and out.
El calor de la sangre que hierve, brota el sudor del miedo que se pierde. Tengo la calma que no dice nada, soy esa brisa que se hace más fuerte. Las nubes se alejan y mi piel sigue en sequía. Voy a llegar algún día a destejer mi